Hello, everybody. Today, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite thing to talk about, financial information. Just kidding. But seriously, it really is something that a lot of families do kind of avoid, but really it is a big part of the college list building process and the college decision-making process. So the first thing we have to understand is when, we go down to we open up a school, we go to the financial info, we click the little blue plus, or it's a white plus and a blue circle. And then this pops up, which is the overview. And this will give us the cost of attendance. Some of these are really high, as you will see, and you will get sticker shock a couple of times. But then you'll go through and you'll also see that a lot of schools have merit-based scholarships and need-based aid. And then you see down here the average cost per family based on this school's use of need-based grants. So, and we'll talk about that in a second. Then over here you have the deadline for merit consideration, because a lot of schools will have a stipulation that to be eligible for all merit scholarships that you get it in by November 1st or whatever the date may be, December 10th, or for the various schools. I'm just going through my mind. But needless to say, it's always very important when you're kind of strategizing and organizing your applications, when you're going to submit, which essays you're going to work on when, to really know if your merit scholarship hinges on a deadline. If you want to know more, then you go to the school's scholarship page. And some pages are very nice in how they lay it out, and they'll tell you if you have an unweighted GPA, which you'll see a lot of schools go by unweighted for scholarships not weighted. I know some of you students with the big inflated weighted GPAs, not inflated, just big, are thinking, oh, shouldn't it be on that? No, they just want to see your A's to B's ratio more than anything. And you can see these are some pretty big awards here. And then it can also be given to students via their standardized test scores. So you will see different, you will see different requirements for different schools. The performance-based scholarships. Merit scholarships usually come in three categories. You have the general performance, where your academics will dictate how much you get, or your test scores. Then you can have your artistic or portfolio scholarships, and then you can have your they will also be part of what we call departmental scholarships. So the engineering department might have a scholarship, or the architecture department might have a scholarship. Those are separate from the main school's broad-based scholarships. And then you have your diversity scholarships quite often, whether it's LGBTQIA or Hispanic or African American. A lot of schools will have separate funds set up for those types of scholarships. So you'll see that I know the overview is nice, but I always like to go to the actual school as well, because as things change, I'll start to see the prices change. And we keep the blue list up to date as much as possible, but the school is going to have the clearest readout of everything that you'll have to pay there. Sometimes you'll see the miscellaneous, all that stuff. We don't really pay as much attention to the indirect costs, because those are just ballpark guesses by the school, and it's better just to compare the apples to apples of the housing and tuition and any kind of required fees. So that's when we start, entering our schools over here in the trackers and in the status. When we put the price in over here, that's just the annual tuition and housing that we're looking at. I'll go back to where I was, but so let's say I'm going to go to a school that doesn't necessarily give out merit scholarships. Where's like Cornell? So we'll go to financial info on Cornell, and we'll see, the overview will show, merit-based. Cornell does not offer merit-based scholarship. The university is committed to providing need-based and financial aid to ensure affordability for all admitted students. So that means that the school is going to base how much you pay purely on how much you can pay, or how much they think you can pay. they will have multiple ways of um, assessing that. A lot of schools will ask you to fill out the FAFSA form, and that will enable you to get need-based aid from the government subsidies. So when you fill out the FAFSA, that's going to be a lot of the public schools. And then there's another form called the CSS form. And that form is used by, I'll even show you guys. If I go CSS, that is now going to give me all the schools that require the CSS profile in addition to the FAFSA form. As we can see here, when we have our schools after, or when we're submitting, some schools will not have a CSS and some schools will. Pretty much most schools will look at the FAFSA form, because again, that's from the government. The question is, how deep are they going to reach into their pockets? So the CSS asks a few more financial, personal questions than does the FAFSA form. Let's go back to a school, because there are other, let's go back to Cornell. There are other tools that you can use here. Rather than making it guesswork, you can go to each of the school's net price calculator, and it'll walk you through questions almost like a tax form, and it's all confidential, but they will give you a pretty good estimate on how much they expect your actual cost to be at this school. They know things can change. Families can appeal for more, lots of ways to go through it. As we also say, it's always very important when you're thinking about your blue list that the schools that are more the green, the more likely safe schools are most likely the ones that you will be incentivized with their scholarships. So happy listing, everyone. Check out the financials and get those scholarships.